The flashing red and blue lights cut through our quiet suburban afternoon like a knife through butter. I watched through my security camera feed as 2 police officers burst through our community's front gate, their faces serious and determined. On my doorstep stood Karen Whitfield, our HOA president, waving a key in the air like a magic wand that had lost its power. Her face was red with fury as she screamed at my locked door, completely unaware that my 12-year-old son Leo was inside, calmly filming everything on his phone. What Karen didn't know was that in just a few minutes, she would be the one under police scrutiny, not me. This is the story of how an entitled HOA president learned that not all doors open for her, and sometimes calling 911 backfires spectacularly. My name is Marcus Chen, and I'm a single father working as a software engineer. 3 months ago, Leo and I moved into Willowbrook Estates, a gated community with what I thought would be reasonable HOA rules. The neighborhood seemed perfect with its manicured lawns, community pool, and highly rated schools. What I didn't account for was Karen Whitfield, a woman who treated her HOA presidency like she was running a small dictatorship. From day one, Karen made it clear she didn't approve of what she called unsupervised children. The first time she saw Leo walking home from the bus stop alone, she cornered me in the driveway. She said with a condescending tone that perhaps I should consider after-school care since single parents often struggle with proper supervision. I politely informed her that Leo was 12, perfectly capable of being home for 2 hours after school, and that my work-from-home schedule allowed me to monitor him through our security system. That should have been the end of it, but Karen doesn't understand the word no. She started inventing rules that didn't exist, like claiming the HOA bylaws prohibited children under 16 from being home alone. When I asked to see these bylaws, she said they were being updated and I'd receive a copy soon. That copy never materialized, of course. Things escalated over the next few weeks. Karen would patrol the neighborhood in her silver SUV every afternoon, timing her drive-by to coincide with the school bus arrival. She'd slow down in front of our house, sometimes even parking across the street to watch Leo enter our home. My son started feeling uncomfortable, asking why the mean lady was always watching him. The situation reached its breaking point on a Tuesday afternoon in October. I was in a critical video conference with clients in Japan when my phone started buzzing with notifications from our smart home security system. Someone was trying to unlock our front door, but the key wasn't working. Then I heard it through the security speakers, Karen's shrill voice demanding that Leo open the door immediately. My blood ran cold as I watched her on the camera feed, jamming a key into our lock repeatedly. She shouted that she had an HOA master key and was conducting a welfare check. Leo, bless his heart, remained calm and activated our security protocol exactly as we'd practiced. He pressed the panic button that locked down all entry points and automatically began recording on all cameras. Leo called me immediately, his voice steady despite the situation. "Dad, that Karen lady is trying to get into our house. She says she has a master key but it's not working." I told him he did exactly right and to stay put while I handled it. Through the security speaker, I announced firmly that Karen was trespassing and needed to leave immediately. Instead of leaving, Karen's face turned an even deeper shade of red. She pulled out her phone and I watched in disbelief as she dialed 911. Her voice took on a hysterical tone as she told the dispatcher there was an abandoned child in danger, possibly injured, and she couldn't get inside to help. She claimed she was the HOA president conducting an authorized welfare check and the child's parent was negligent. I immediately called 911 myself, explaining the real situation that an unauthorized person was attempting to break into my home while my son was safely inside. The dispatcher assured me units were already on the way. I ended my client meeting abruptly and raced home, my mind spinning with anger and concern. By the time I arrived, 2 police cruisers were already there. Officer Martinez and Officer Thompson stood on my porch, looking increasingly skeptical as Karen ranted about HOA authority and child welfare. Leo had followed my instructions perfectly, speaking to the officers through our video doorbell and assuring them he was fine, just doing homework. When I pulled into the driveway, Karen pointed at me dramatically. She declared that this was the negligent father who left his child alone and refused HOA safety checks. Officer Martinez turned to me with a look that suggested he'd already figured out what was really happening. He asked me calmly if I could explain the situation from my perspective. I invited the officers inside, making a point of using my actual key while Karen's supposed master key sat useless in her hand. Leo was sitting at the kitchen table, his math homework spread out, looking remarkably composed for a 12-year-old who'd just been through such an ordeal. The officers checked on him first, confirming he was unharmed and had access to food, water, and communication with me. Then I pulled up our security footage on the living room TV. The officers watched as Karen approached our door without any prior notice, produced a key, and attempted to enter our home while announcing she had HOA authority to do so. The timestamp showed she'd been trying to get in for nearly 10 minutes before calling police. Officer Thompson asked Karen where she got this supposed master key. Her story began to unravel as she stammered about HOA protocols and emergency access. She claimed that during a legitimate maintenance visit months ago, she'd had a copy made for safety purposes. The officers exchanged meaningful looks when she admitted to duplicating a key without homeowner permission. I then presented my evidence file, which I'd been building since Karen's harassment began. Screenshots of her making up HOA rules, dates and times of her surveillance of our home, and witness statements from neighbors who'd seen her watching Leo. Mrs. Rodriguez from across the street had even provided doorbell footage of Karen sitting in her car for 20 minutes just watching our house. The power dynamic shifted dramatically as Officer Martinez began questioning Karen about her false 911 report. He reminded her sternly that claiming a child was abandoned and possibly injured when she knew he was simply home alone constituted misuse of emergency services. Karen's confident demeanor crumbled as she realized she was no longer the one in control. The neighbors had started gathering, pretending to check their mail or water their plants while obviously watching the drama unfold. Several had their phones out, and I knew this would be all over the neighborhood Facebook group within hours. Karen noticed too, her face cycling through shades of red and white as her authority evaporated in front of her subjects. Officer Thompson asked to see the HOA bylaws that supposedly gave Karen the right to enter homes. When she couldn't produce them, claiming they were at her house, he informed her that no HOA agreement supersedes basic property rights and privacy laws. He then delivered the words that made my day. "Ma'am, you're being cited for attempted unlawful entry and false reporting to emergency services." Karen's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. She sputtered about her position and responsibilities, but the officers were unmoved. As they wrote up the citations, I informed them I would be pressing charges and my attorney would be in contact. The mention of an attorney made Karen's face go pale beneath her perfect makeup. The next HOA meeting was one for the history books. Word had spread quickly about Karen's attempted break-in and false police report. I came prepared with my lawyer, Jacob Morrison, who specialized in HOA disputes. The meeting room was packed, standing room only, as neighbors who usually skipped these meetings showed up to witness Karen's downfall. Jacob presented our case methodically. The unauthorized key duplication alone was enough for criminal charges, but combined with attempted unlawful entry, harassment, and false reporting, Karen was looking at serious legal consequences. He also raised concerns about how many other unauthorized keys might exist and demanded a full audit of HOA key policies. Board member after board member distanced themselves from Karen's actions. Tom Bradley, the treasurer, revealed that Karen had tried to pass a motion about mandatory welfare checks without board approval. Sarah Kim, the secretary, produced meeting minutes showing the board had explicitly voted against giving Karen any special authority to enter homes. When it came time for the vote of no confidence, it was unanimous. Even Karen's usual allies couldn't support her after the police involvement. As the results were read, Karen stood up abruptly, her chair screeching against the floor. She announced shakily that we would all regret this when the neighborhood fell into chaos without her leadership. Then she stormed out, her heels clicking angrily against the tile floor. The legal consequences came swiftly. The false reporting charge alone carried a fine of $5,000. The attempted unlawful entry, given the premeditated nature of duplicating the key, resulted in misdemeanor charges. Her real estate license, which she'd mentioned proudly at every opportunity, was suspended pending investigation. The civil lawsuit my attorney filed sought damages for emotional distress to Leo and harassment. When the final settlement came through, Karen was ordered to pay $15,000 in damages and legal fees. She was permanently banned from holding any HOA position and had to complete 100 hours of community service. The judge also issued a restraining order preventing her from coming within 100 feet of our property. I'll never forget the look on Karen's face when the judge read the verdict. Her carefully constructed world of petty power and control crumbled in an instant. She stood there in her designer suit, tears streaming down her face, as the bailiff explained the terms of her probation. The woman who had terrorized our neighborhood with her false authority was finally facing real consequences, and her expression showed she'd never imagined this outcome when she tried to use her fake master key that October afternoon.